So today we need to talk about the attacks, and no, not the kind the media loves to accuse everyone else of inciting. I'm talking about what looked, at first glance, like a coordinated strike on four high-profile figures in American politics, all in the same news cycle. RFK Jr. hit with a brand new impeachment filing. Kristi Noem hit with an impeachment investigation. Pete Hegseth hit with an impeachment proceeding. And President Trump, as in the man in the current Oval Office, hit with an impeachment vote before he could even finish his morning schedule. One after another, bang, bang, bang. As always, if you didn't know better, you'd think it was an actual coordinated attack. Just happened all at the same time. All on U.S. leadership, but nope, this wasn't physical. This was political artillery, a full-blown barrage of filings, votes, resolutions, investigations launched in a rapid succession. Someone hit fire all. So the real question, what exactly just happened? Who lit the fuse, and why did every major political figure suddenly all get hit at the same time? Because this isn't normal. This isn't random. This is targeted saturation. And we're going to break it down, starting with Kristi Noem and the hearing circus, and ending with why the New York Times and NATO suddenly started screaming, "Prepare for war." All when this happened. So buckle up and be ready, because I'm not a happy guy today. And I'll be back with you in just a few seconds. Covered this yesterday. I actually tried something yesterday, mind you. I tried simply just to do a normal title. Guess what happened? Video absolutely flopped. Everybody always says, why don't you just put up like a normal title? That's why. You can never put up a normal title on the public platforms anymore. But we tried it, right? We covered a little bit of this yesterday. RFK Jr. I formally introduced articles of impeachment. He gets hit, attacked. We covered this yesterday. What did this man have to say?
Canada. Today I introduced articles to impeach Secretary Pete Hegseth.
I want to hear about that. Pete Hegseth. He gets hit. Then Kristi Noem yesterday. Delia Ramirez. I'm going to launch an investigation into you. Why the heck not, huh? Another attack. As she sat in this circus of a hearing. A circus, and I'm putting it mildly. Just one of the attacks that she had to just bear and take yesterday.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Sejun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in.
You deported him. He self-deported. Just so we get our facts straight. Also, according to the administration, he has an extensive criminal history, including convictions for assault, possessing, manufacturing, or selling a dangerous weapon, carrying a loaded firearm in a public space, criminal possession of a controlled substance. A 2010 immigration judge issued him an order of removal. Park's appeal to the Board of Immigration's Appeals that same month was dismissed by the board in April of 2011 with no legal basis to remain in the U.S. and a final order of removal. Park was allowed to self-deport to Korea. So just in case you want to get your facts straight, but one side of the aisle seems to have a problem with that. Facts evade them at times. And also evades them is seriousness.
Republicans on this committee may be willing to hand over their constitutional duty in order to kiss this administration's butt cheeks, but I am not.
Appropriate. Kiss the administration's butt cheeks, coming from the lady who we all remember. I think that's enough said, right? Just leave it at that. Anti-ICE protesters at the hearing. Do you you feel like everything's gone absolutely lunatic? Because it has. And I'm only about halfway through what's happened before we get to what the New York Times announces, before we get to what happened to Trump, before we get to what NATO announces. And maybe this is all put together on purpose. We've never seen that before, have we? Oh, we're going to get there in just a few seconds. Before I do, I want to thank you all again for being here, for supporting the channel, for doing those simple steps I ask you each day to help me with this algorithm by making sure your bell is checked all, by subscribing. If you're new here, welcome home. This is what news was meant to sound like, black and white, as clear as I could potentially make it in a moderated tone. For those of you that have joined as members here, thank you so very much. For you who've continued on over at restrictedrepublic.com, I appreciate that. And for those of you who made the call, and I've heard so many of you have, to my sponsor of this video, which is Chapter, thank you so much for doing that. What an amazing company. The testimonials I receive are absolutely insane. So before I jump into today's broadcast, let's talk about something every Medicare viewer needs to know. Because 2026 is shaping up to be another one of those Washington special years. Medicare Part B premiums are rising 10% for 2026. That's $215 a year coming straight out of Social Security checks. The second largest increase ever in dollar terms. And while premiums climb, benefits are shrinking and some plans are disappearing entirely. Come January, a lot of folks are going to find out their new plan doesn't even include the doctors they've relied on for years. Now, here's the curveball. If you chose your 2026 plan using Medicare.gov provider directory, the government admitted there were errors, meaning some people may have signed up for a plan that doesn't actually cover their doctors. Imagine that surprise. The silver lining? You're here today. Because of those inaccuracies, the government is offering affected seniors a chance to switch plans. But figure out whether you qualify. It's not that simple. That's why today's sponsor, Chapter, exists. I'm not a licensed insurance agent. That's not Medicare, and this is not Medicare advice. Chapter is a licensed Medicare professional. I'm simply giving you information you need to stay protected. Chapter offers a free, unbiased consultation. They can review your situation in about 20 minutes, confirm your doctors, and help you understand your options. If you're already on the right plan, they tell you. If not, they'll point you in the right direction. No pressure, no obligation. With a free phone call, 805-619-5011. The sooner you call, the sooner you can make sure your 2026 coverage actually works for you. So again, just call 805-619-5011. How hard is that, huh? Free phone call? Find out today, and they could do it in 20 minutes in most cases. That's the best phone call you're going to make today. Give Chapter a call. But now let's get back to this video.
You lie and you lie to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by ProPublica from October 16, 2025, entitled, "We found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been kicked." There's nothing smiling about U.S. citizens. I'm sorry. That's very inappropriate. Let me continue. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained.
Well, nice how she did that, huh? Don't you dare say a word. I'm not going to let you answer the question. Why do you think she was laughing? Do you think it's the statement or who was stating it? The same person who says you either resign or your supreme leader fires you or you'll be impeached? Guess what? I'd be laughing at you too. Because Kristi Noem wasn't just going to sit there, lie down, and let it happen. Oh, but remember that gentleman who wanted to file articles of impeachment against Pete Hegseth? Well, he had something to say to Kristi Noem too.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security. If you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you.
What a genius statement that was, huh? I'll consider that an endorsement of my work, as I would too. And then out comes this. Benny Thompson has the gall to make this statement. I don't know if I could even have withheld as well as Kristi Noem withheld.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our
respond.
National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question?
Because I just said the most horrible, heinous thing I could have possibly ever have said. He called it an unfortunate accident. That's disgusting. That's the sort of things that happened in this hearing. Outside of people screaming at her that she was using a child as a prop. Listen. A baby as a political tool, aka her granddaughter, then calling her the modern SS and Gestapo. The world's gone absolutely unhinged. There's nothing else to say about it. This lady, Kristi Noem, and the President, the Department of State, the DHS, remove all illegal invaders, restore American sovereignty, rebuild a legal immigration system and common sense, who have removed more than 2.5 million illegal aliens. Results speak for themselves. And we wonder why everyone's so upset, I guess, huh? And alone, if that stood alone, should be more than enough news for most people, right? But it's not going to stand alone today. Because something else happened outside of the fact that Congress quickly passes the $800 billion for Ukraine, but they won't pass the $2,000 for you and I due to Trump's tariff and the rebates that he discussed. No. Never for we the people, but $800 billion for Ukraine without even a second thought. Of course not. Not even the fact of the vote where Representative Green votes impeaching Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanor. Can you believe 140 people didn't want that motion tabled? 47 voting present, 237 voting to table it. Terrifying, isn't it? How no one wants progress. That's the world we live in.
You can seize a tanker without killing anyone.
What's that?
If you can seize an oil tanker without killing anyone, shouldn't that have been the way that these fishing boats were also stopped?
Fishing boats? What is a fishing boat?
Well,
the drug runners?
The drug runners.
Those aren't fishing boats.
Yeah, but
those aren't fishing boats.
If you can seize a vessel without violence.
Okay. Well,
Senator Eric Schmidt hits back, and deservingly so, but he doesn't stop there. Fishing boats, fishing boats, fishing boats, same talking points.
if you're asking me if I have sympathy for narco-terrorists killing Americans whose boats that are carrying the drugs that kill Americans, I don't. I have sympathy for my neighbors in Missouri who've been poisoned, who die. And we finally have a president who cares about them more than the Democrats care about going down to El Salvador to drink margaritas with terrorists.
Good point, huh? Except once again, one side doesn't agree with that because the person he's referring to, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was released yesterday from immigration detention. If you felt things were crazy yesterday, you were right. They were. Unhinged, unchained. And we got to see, on top of everything else, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin make the first in-court appearance. And we see specifically why cameras should be in the courtroom.
The most chilling aspect for many people watching this trial is likely to be the demeanor of the defendant. People who are responsible for these types of heinous crimes often do have this detachment from the gravity of what they are accused of doing. You don't commit crimes like this if you are weighted down heavily with the moral implications, at least in most cases. Now,
and why? Because he sat there, smirking in court today over Charlie Kirk's murder, just twisting the knife in a grieving nation. This was excellently written. But turning that grin into a media circus risks tainting justice with bias from Trump's death penalty cheers and fake outrage clips. Prosecutors push execution while defense cries unfair trial under a spotlight, leaving truth buried in partisan noise. This isn't closure, it's a stage for agendas where Erica Kirk's pain gets exploited. Seal the room, let facts rule, or watch justice rot in the glare. What do you say? Do you want cameras in the courtroom or not? I don't understand specifically how cameras in the courtroom evade justice. Do you? Ask him for a friend. Maybe I just don't get it though, huh? Before we get into the New York Times editorial board urging the U.S. to prepare for war, in this opinion piece, warning us to prepare for China, and this speech. So I'll give you a little intro first. It's kind of an important intro, actually, because a lot of people don't and didn't necessarily put it in the right context. It's a little bit chilling in a way. So I'll give you the context to it. Because as all the hearing chaos was unfolding, the New York Times editorial board, not some random columnist, but the official board drops a piece essentially saying we need to prepare for the future war with China. Now, of course, they frame it politely. Deterrence requires readiness. Our technological lead is slipping, and the Pentagon's overmatch briefly shows risks, which actually the Pentagon agrees with. We just saw that in the defense spending bill. But the headline writers didn't bother hiding the subtext. They're waving a giant red flag saying, America, gear up. But here's the kicker. This isn't a policy document. This is the media running point on a narrative shift, signaling to the public, start thinking about this now. Why? Think about what? Because when establishment outlets publish pieces like this, it's never, ever random. Look at it. Look how well it's framed. Look how well it is drafted and published. It's an entire video. It's messaging, it's timing, it's preparation of public sentiment. And alone, it should be enough. It should be enough to concern you. But it's not alone. It's not in a box. It's not in a silo. It comes with this message. Almost simultaneously, almost like someone cued the orchestra. Out comes NATO's defense secretary. NATO chief, sorry. And here was his warning. Are you ready? Prepare for a world-scale war.
We need to be ready, because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. Imagine it, a conflict reaching every home, every workplace. Destruction, mass mobilization, millions displaced, widespread suffering and extreme losses. It is a terrible thought. But if we deliver on our commitments, this is a tragedy we can prevent. NATO is here to protect 1 billion people on both sides of the Atlantic.
The NATO that Trump just said he wants to disengage from, the NATO that Trump just said the EU better start chipping in and paying for, the NATO that when Trump is trying to establish a peace plan between Ukraine and Russia, we now come to find out that although Zelensky said he was prepared to cede territory, we now come to find out that only comes if NATO is allowed to occupy Ukraine. Now does this speech start to make a little more sense? Prepare for a world-scale war? Who do you think's going to be upset and never allow for that? Putting in a different perspective for you.
Our mission is to protect you, your families, your friends, and your future. We cannot let down our guard, and we won't. I count on our governments to keep up with their commitments and go further and faster, because we cannot falter or fail. Listen to the sirens across Ukraine. Look at the bodies pulled from the rubble. Think of the Ukrainians who might go to sleep tonight and not wake up tomorrow. And what is standing between what's happening to them and what could happen to us? Only NATO.
Told you. Not metaphorical. Not symbolic. He literally warns countries to get ready for conflict levels not seen in generations, citing escalating threats and tightening timelines. Shock, no shock. It's not a fringe voice, it's not speculation. It's the head of a major alliance telling Europe, aka and us, spend more, arm more, train more, prepare more. Because bad man, Orange Man bad, said he doesn't want to give us any more. So the only way we can ensure that Orange Man continues to engage is exactly. Go ahead, put it in the comments. How does NATO assure, how does the EU assure that America has to continue to engage and fund? New York Times says prepare for war with China. NATO says prepare for war in Europe, both in the same news cycle. And we're supposed to pretend these two messages aren't connected, that they don't represent a coordinated shift towards a much more serious public conversation, please. Here's what your politicians won't say while they're chasing cameras on Capitol Hill. When multiple institutions, governments, alliances, legacy media start warning about preparing for a large-scale conflict, it tells you one thing. They see global risk rising faster than public awareness. And while Congress is fighting over sound bites and optics, the strategic world is moving towards something very different. A phase where nations are openly talking about defense buildup, readiness, and worst-case scenarios. Is war guaranteed? No. But is the tone shifting? Loudly, publicly, and simultaneously? Yes, it is. And that is why Kristi Noem's hearing felt so embarrassing. It was so useless. Because as global institutions yell, wake up, Washington is still hitting snooze. But are they doing that on purpose? Should be the real question we're all asking. I love you all. Till next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.